Looking for a car dealer that actually feels like your hometown? Welcome to City Chevrolet of Grayslake, where the vibe is friendly, the pressure is off, and you'll always be treated like family. Meet Anthony Scala. He's just not the owner. He's a guy that grew up in the car business, worked his way from porter to owner. Anthony believes in people first. That's why City Chevy sponsors your kids' teams, your town events. And matter of fact, this show, they give back every chance they get. Anthony thinks that the experience of buying a car should be fun. No pressure, just honest people who care. Whether you need a new Chevy, a quality used car, or just service you can trust, City Chevy is here for you. Come visit City Chevrolet of Grayslake right off of 120. And thank you for sponsoring our town, our stories, our voice. Let's get after it, Grayslake. Grayslake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents. And recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grayslake Rehabilitation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Discovering Grayslake. We appreciate everybody listening from wherever you're at. Today we have a super special episode, which I'm very happy to have 2 gentlemen with me today. And today we're going to talk about Memorial Day. And we have 2 veterans with it, and I think the best way to do it is I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
My name is Vincent Taranto. I was U.S. Navy during the Vietnam series, as that's what I call it, a series. And I'm so happy to be here. I'd like to try this. This is nice.
I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, my name is Steve MacInnis. I was a member of the United States Air Force for 6 years, 4 months, and 29 days, but who's counting? I was in Southeast Asia for 4.5 years, so I saw things all the way from Vietnam to Guam to the Philippines and what was happening during the war, and it's an honor to be here today.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I think we need to start first because Zoe's here also. Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Dave.
So one thing we wanted to bring to the community to raise awareness about and have you guys help me with is what is Memorial Day? What does it mean to you? It's obviously more than barbecues and hanging out with your family and a day off. What is Memorial Day?
Memorial Day is a day that we need to teach the people exactly what it means. It means what these gentlemen and women as well have served this country to make everyone comfortable here as much as possible. But I don't want to say after the Vietnam War, it was a different series. Steve?
For several years, when I was district commander and post commander down in Arlington Heights, I used to do the Arlington Heights Memorial Day. And one of my things I pointed out at one point in time is, all you people that are here, you get it. You understand it, and you get it. It's the ones that aren't here that don't get it. And it's always been my mission to people to understand the awareness of what is the difference between Memorial Day and July 4th. So when you look at when someone is saying happy Memorial Day, to us, that's not the right meaning.
It is not happy.
Not happy.
Right. So we're remembering fallen, correct? And I think that the only celebration is what the men and women have brought to us, from freedom to living in a place comfortable, while a lot of people are at home just enjoying life, right?
That's correct.
Exactly. And then the ultimate sacrifice.
And they're still doing it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, because I haven't said it, is I thank you for all of your service, all of you. I really appreciate that. So let's jump in, because I would love to. I know you guys have some fantastic experiences and wisdom and everything to share. And I say fantastic, I mean because it's very enlightening for everybody as well. So let's start with some personal stories of service. And whoever would like to jump in and go first. First of all, what motivated you to enlist, or Were you drafted? How did that happen?
No, I was in college. I knew I was going to get nailed. So I drove to Hialeah, Florida, where they had the Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force in the end. And I judged it by what the uniforms looked like.
Really?
That's what I did. And they had a nice blue one all set up. I said, I want that one. And the guy goes, put your hand up. And he swore me in.
Just like that?
November 17th.
What year is that?
1965.
65.
And then I went active on January 11th, 66. I went from Miami, 80 degrees. I came up here. We just had short-sleeve shirts, very light pants, and penny loafers. That's the way we dressed. And thank you, Navy, because they brought peacoats for us, hats and gloves. And there were 6 of us, and we were all musicians. Yeah, we played the Navy band, and it was really a ball because we did 2 graduations, and then they went ahead and got a new set of players, 110 of us. Well, it was more than what is happening today in people going to boot camp, because there's usually around 7-8 divisions of 80. That's it. It's not that much. So you kind of get embarrassed when I visit the Sarge, as he's called. He puts on a show every week, 48 times a year, and he entertains the families, the ones that come to meet their child or whatever, whoever it could be. The next day, graduation is on Thursdays here. Used to be Fridays, and both of us did it on Friday. But they really enjoy themselves because we play music. We take pictures of them as divisions, and it's and the people they pay their own bar bill because they can go crazy. It's the military. And once in a while, a boot camp graduate comes to the show. In fact, the VFW 2245 that we belong to had the honor guard there one week, which was really super nice. It was just done, and I enjoy entertaining the people to let them know, because they put up a picture, a moving picture of the ships and boot camp, and it's so different than when I was in. It's really, they're teaching them everything. They're really getting educated to how to be on a ship, and I enjoy watching it once in a while. I did that 48 times, 6 times.
1 minute, your world is normal. The next, it's gone. A flood, a fire, a crime scene. Your home shattered. Your business shut down. Your life on pause. But in the darkest hour, when chaos knocks at your door, that's when Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County shows up. Not just a company, not just a cleanup crew, but neighbors, parents, coaches, locals who care. Drake and his team aren't just restoring properties. They're restoring peace, restoring dignity, restoring lives. So when your worst day arrives, call the Oh No guy, who becomes your Thank God guy. Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County. Locally owned, nationally known, unshakably trusted. From devastation to restoration. Serve Pro, Northwest Lake County.
Hey neighbors, this is Bill Mock with the Grayslake Chamber of Commerce. And if you're looking for a network of hard-working, customer-focused, and generally friendly local businesses who are dedicated to helping each other succeed, then I'd like to invite you to check out and consider joining our Grayslake Chamber. We offer our members so many ways to advance their businesses through social networking events, special event sponsorships, informative lunch and learns, and the ever-popular after-hours mixers. Come see why we say we're the new wave of business here in Lake County.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, for all of them.
And then I had surgery and I couldn't do anything.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. But no, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Let's switch over and talk about how did you enlist? Did you get drafted? How did you?
Well, I went to Oregon State University for a whopping 1 year. I had a little too much priority of the girls and parties and not really going to school, so as to speak. At the same time, my brother was graduating as a member of ROTC for the Army. I was in the Air Force ROTC, but I didn't like the uniforms. They were too hot. So I was, at this point in time in my life, let's say I was not the most patriotic person. Mm-hmm. So then in the spring of that year, I got the welcome to coming up and having your physical and, et cetera, et cetera. So I went up and I tried my very best not to pass, but I still did. In fact, I tried very, very difficult, so it couldn't happen. So that next morning, the people who were doing the test stuff came and said, "You're not feeling very good today, are you?" I said, "No, I just really don't think I can do this." They said, "I'll tell you what, we're going to let you sleep for a few more hours, and then we're going to have you do it." So that process didn't work. No. So then my brother went on, and he was a graduate from ROTC and went to Fort Benning, and he was going to Vietnam. And so this was the summer I had decided that I didn't want to go to Vietnam. So but I knew that I was going to have to go into service. And this guy named Joe, the recruiter, got okay and says, he got me all what I could do in joining the Air Force. And then about 2 weeks later, he says, "Well, I got some good news and I got some bad news." And I said, "Well, what's the good news?" He said, "The good news is you're in the Air Force." I said, "What's the bad news?" He says, "It's time to report." So that was the beginning of my career, so to speak. And shall we say, to begin with, it wasn't anything I really was all that enthralled about, to be honest with you. But I spent 4 years in Southeast Asia, and of course that makes you a different person. But so to begin with, like any other, most people wasn't that excited to go into the military. But once I was in, it was a whole different story.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to jump right from there. The other thing we have is, what do you remember most, and you guys, whoever wants to go first, what do you remember most about arriving in Vietnam?
Oh, that was a ball, because I did it twice. 2 different places, flying into Saigon with Harbor Clearance Unit 1 Combat Salvage Divers. Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that. And I had 2 stations, one in Vung Tau, one in the Philippines. So I said, I really want to be on a ship. I really wanted to be on a ship so badly that didn't happen. So I went back and forth to Vung Tau in the Philippines, back and forth. And then I got a letter. You're going to Da Nang. I said, what is that? I said, another tour. This is a full tour. And it was, on the air base, which was the #1 airport in the world. And people think they're on the way to TWA. No. It was F-14s, F-16s. They were up and down. And we had a hell of a time there because it was a target. And across the street from my barracks was the United States Marines. And then the other side was the Air Force. And then was the Navy, and I was Navy intelligence. So I had some projects. And I got paid for the projects. I had the Marines, and I don't pay for them. And they took me on tour with them into the jungles. And I didn't really want to do it because I didn't want to go in the jungle. And I come from Florida, so it's a jungle there. But we had a good time. We tried to live. And when first time I went out there, they ambushed us. And one Marine, he bought the dust. And we had the body bags. We packed them up. I had to write all this down because we didn't have recorders, and we had nothing like that. So I did stories on this and brought them back to the Navy, not the Marines, but the Marines were very cooperative, and I usually had between 10, 15, and it was good because we took care of it, and they saved my life, and it was different. It was just different for doing this stuff, and I still had 26 sailors under me who had to go on watch in all these different port stations, and then I would get up, go check with the lieutenant, and he'd say, "You got your orders." And so I took it across the street to the Marines, and the colonel there, he let me have what I wanted. And I says, I have no radios. I have just paper book to write. I broke the pencil so many times, and the ink would run out. I don't know. I didn't carry very much, but if it would have been a radio or a tape recorder, it would have been much better.
Wow.
Much better.
Wow.
So that DMZ was 8 miles from us. You know what that means? The militarized zone. It belongs to them. Down below belongs to us for a while until they invaded. And they would go through Laos, Cambodia. So that's where I went through, Laos and Cambodia. And you took a chance, am I right? You took a chance. It was, you're not supposed to go there. We weren't. We weren't even supposed to say anything about it. But my wife got a chance to see Cambodia. We all went on a cruise. And she fixed us right because the cruise ship stopped at Vung Tau. And everybody went on a little chat around and I looked around and go, this place looks the same. And I said, look at Rosie's bar, it's still there. This is 50 years later.
Wow.
And it was really fun because I got lost. I came out of the store, which had 4 exits. I took a picture. I didn't know they were all the same. So when I stepped outside, I go, where am I? And I walked down the street, and there was a couple in the middle of the street. I didn't know they were getting married. So I spoke a little Vietnamese, and my wife called. She says, I talked to the driver, and of course she went through her thing on the phone where you could talk. She says, he doesn't understand anything. And then the driver of the bus came walking down the street. I said, okay. So I walk up to him and he goes, that way. And I got on the bus. This was funny. I got on the bus and I got a standing ovation for being late. Holding them up. Then it was just fun. Then the next stop was Da Nang, my store. And driving in a bus, we're passing by the air base. And as we're going past, I see these 3 tunnels on the other side of the fence. On the Air Force side, that was the chopper air control, where the choppers were in there. And then I looked, I said, geez, I'm on Highway 50. Hey, look at those things. They're still here. It's not even there. It's just the same things. It was kind of interesting. And then as he makes a turn on the I forgot the name of it. I lost a lot of memory. China Beach was things because I had 2 duty stations there, and we turned the bus around. I said to the driver, I says, "Are we in Miami Beach?" He says, "What are you talking about?" I says, "Well, look at the hotels and the cabanas and people naked on the beach." It was incredible. You wouldn't expect that to see that in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Where we were was nothing but a bomb shelter. That's it.
It's not the Vietnam you remember.
Pardon?
It's not the Vietnam you remember.
No, because the next stop was Hanoi. And they did not try to show us where the POW camp was. Well, yeah, it was
Hanoi Hill.
That's the one. Yeah, and it was terrible for those guys.
That's where Lieutenant John McCain was.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
It was.
I appreciate you. I really appreciate you showing. It's interesting to hear the perspective after going back there. I'm going to stop you for 1 second because I want to shift over and I want to talk about your first experience being in Vietnam.
Well, actually, before Vietnam, I was in the Philippines at Clark Air Force Base. So I kind of had a little bit of a prelude before I went to Vietnam. And what I remember, well, there's going to be 2 things. One is at Clark and the others in Vietnam. What I remember at Clark, I will never, ever forget, and I have actually had nightmares many times over it. I saw one green bus after another, one after another, one after another. And I was standing next to him. I said, what's that? He says, that's the bodies being returned from Vietnam. So at that point in time, I realized I'm in a whole new world now. Because we were, even though we were the Philippines, we were very involved in what was happening at Nam. As far as Vietnam, it was a rather interesting entrance, to say the least. We were on final approach coming into Tan Son Nhut, when all of a sudden the plane started to go straight up in the air, and the pilot says, we have to go back up here a little bit. There's a few rocket fire things going underneath us. So once that's done, we'll go back to final approach. Whoa.
Yeah, holy cow.
So we had to circle for like 45 minutes or so and stay above. These weren't surface-to-air missiles. This was just rocket fire that was going on at the time. So that was how I got into Nam.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm going to have you lead this next one, too. I know we talked about some other roles that you guys served already. Any of those you want to mention, too. But were there any moments of camaraderie, humor, that help you get through, like, the really difficult times?
Oh, that's a very difficult time. You feel like you got a buddy.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what color they were, or anything like that. There were even Asian guys on the field. I had no problem with the people I was with. I only just try to take care of them, and they take care of us. But we do have good people in the military, and we think about them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say predominantly there was several of us who did a lot of things together. Now, when I was doing some of the stuff in country that I did, not really, because what I had to do was pretty much a solo type thing. But when I was back at Tan Son Nhut, we actually played softball the minute we would get off shift. And that was our big thing to do. We'd go out there and we'd play and we'd have a good time, and then we'd probably go to some social activities after playing softball.
Sure. Social activities.
Social activities.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll call them that.
I've done a couple of those.
Have you ever heard of the STA?
No.
The Saigon Tea Drinking Association.
Oh, yes. Bunch of tea drinkers.
Oh, yeah. We won't go there on that one.
Right. We're taking a quick break just to say hello because everybody knows Nano, and Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people. It's often said that those who fail to plan are planning to fail. Joe Velez and his team at JPV Financial create unique financial plans that address some of the most difficult challenges that people might face as they get older. No matter what stage of life you're in, having a proactive financial plan can help navigate some of the difficult decisions you'll face, helping you live your life by design, not default. Securities and investment advisory service offered through Osaic Wealth Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
All right, let's shift gears here just a little bit. Talking about Memorial Day, we've kind of talked a little bit about what it means to you, but more importantly, I think someone specific that you remember or really honor on this day.
Oh, I got a picture.
All right, I would love to see it. James Edward Hayes. Tell me what James means to you.
I grew up with him. He lived across the street. I left Vietnam on the 4th of December, and his father called me on the 18th of December. Jimmy was a chopper pilot, and actually flying back to Taranto, but the pilot got shot. He got shot, and he tried to get it back to the base. This is all records. All the records are on this. And he, when he got to the base, it was a thunderstorm. So one of the lightning strikes hit him, and it flipped him. Came around into the ground, burned up. So his father called me up and asked me to be a pallbearer. He asked me if I still have my clothes. I said, yes, sir, I'll be there. It was two of us that were there for him. And one of them was a gunner on the choppers.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a young person. He was 22 years old.
22 years old.
22 years old.
I really appreciate you sharing Jimmy's story.
It's been bugging me for 50 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of friends are this is a warrant officer. We also had the smartest young man in Harvard, at Harvard. Gary Wishenik, his name is. He became a staff sergeant because he was so smart. This is what the paper said too. I read it, and it said that he was dead on the field. When I got the news on that too.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. No, there's nothing to be sorry about at all. But that's what Memorial Day is for, right? These great young men, very young men.
They were 15 years old. Was the youngest.
Well, I do have a picture here, but I'm not finding it at the moment, and it's honor flight that I went on in 2022. My roommate in college was Michael D. Oliver. He was a Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps. One night I was listening to the AFRTS report, which is the Armed Forces Radio Television Service Network, and what they would do, like a lot of times I worked a late shift because I had a top secret crypto access, and we were very involved in high traffic of the highest caliber. But we would always get the break, and then they would do this obituary. Michael D. Oliver's name was brought up that night, and I just kind of stopped. And I always wanted to pay tribute to him, and so when I went to the Vietnam Wall, which I've been to several times, but this was different. This time I was with a bunch of veterans who needed closure, like myself, and I have a picture where I literally am in the side and I'm pointing at Michael, and then it actually brings a silhouette of me showing in the background as I'm pointing at him. I do have that picture.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
That's very, very powerful.
It doesn't leave you. It does not leave you. None of these KIAs.
No, that doesn't. Not at all.
Besides telling the stories here with me today, other things that you do to keep their stories alive?
It's not easy, but you sit and think about it. Even though I forget where I'm driving, and then all of a sudden I'm back in now, and I'm glad I left there in one piece, but it was okay, and I did have some boo-boos but that was it, and my barracks was on the road where the silver caskets came by. About 3-4 hours later, the flags are coming.
Wow.
Right to the plane. Sometimes we had to help them. And you sit there, you see these caskets covered in flag, and there's somebody in there, but the backyard of the morgue was where they took the pieces off and buried them out there. No, people don't know that.
Wow.
It was right down the street from us. Even the Marines would make a problem. They couldn't take it to either when you see those. And they were put in body bags, and it wasn't just too much.
Thank you once again for sharing. Story about how you keep the memories alive.
I've been involved in the VFW for a long time. The reason I joined the VFW was my wife's father, World War II veteran. I went to his funeral. He had a 21-gun salute, and I realized all the things that he had done as a member. But what I'll remember that really got me going to doing and making sure I let people know was I went to Branson, Missouri. And at this point in time in my life, and I was asked my wife about this last night, this was 2006, I had blocked everything out completely. Didn't think about any of it for a lot of reasons. So as we pull into Branson, there's this big, huge banner. Welcome home, Vietnam vet. And I looked up, I said, whoa. Then I went into the museum and I bought my first Vietnam hat, 19 years old. And it was 19 years ago. And what it was a Vietnam Welcome Home weekend by country western Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, and Garth Brooks.
Wow.
And it's a 1-week thing that they do, and we just happened to be there that week, which I didn't know. And that really kind of did it. So then after that, I realized it's time for me to quit the pity party crap and get back into reality. And it's time for me to let veterans know more what they need about their benefits and what they can do to help them. So it kind of switched to a point where it's no longer about me, it's about my veterans. And I really believe that is what has helped me to, I guess I would say, promote the message is what I try to do about what this is all about truly understanding Memorial Day, separating it, knowing it's not Happy Veterans Day, it's Memorial Day. I have a history of my family all the way back through the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. My sister Joan was the Liberian General of the Daughters of the American Revolution, which is the highest thing in there. So there's a lot of tradition that's there. And then I have, of course, my brother, full bird retired Colonel, United States Army, Vietnam. Are you ready for this? Grenada. And they brought him out of retirement for Desert Storm.
Holy cow.
Yeah. In fact, quick story. John captured a tank. And he said, how do you do that? And he said, well, I did it with a 7-Up bottle. What? So, yeah, the Royal Elite Guard was thirsty. So the guy switched him his tank for a 7-Up bottle.
What a great story. That is awesome. Let's switch gears because I like the welcome home, right? So I do want to talk to you guys about coming home, about the experience of coming home from Vietnam.
Well, if I'm the first one, I'm going to tell you. First of all, I never sent a letter home to fit my family. I sent to my mother and father and my brother to the Philippines. Gave it to a friend of mine, Charlie Giaquinta, who ran a PBR. And he says he took it, put another envelope, because I addressed it. We had rights free on everything. And he would send it home. He did that for 18 months. And my mother and father didn't know. No one knew. And no one knew. I haven't told my wife, we were married 40 years. I never said a word to her about this. Never. And in July this year, it'll be our 50th. And I hope I can walk.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. And are we talking about coming home?
Yes, sir.
When I came home, I bought a stereo system and everything out of the PX, and I had to send it home. But you have to have your DD-214 to do that. Okay? So my father took the DD-214 to work, because my father couldn't go in the Army in World War II because he had hearing problems. So he took it to work and spoke to his boss, he says, where's my son? He looks at it and goes, he's in Vietnam. He never mentioned my mother. He never said a word to her. Because when when I flew home, I landed in Miami International, took a taxi, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. And I had the taxi take me home, and I give him a nice tip because it didn't matter. And my father was putting up a sign outside, "Welcome home, son." And my mother came flying out, and my brother did too, and the neighbors next door, because he was in the military in World War II, and it just meant so much to me to have that, because then when I attended college again, it was baby killers, you're assholes, baby killer. And that's the way it was. Just coming out of the airport, he can tell you the same thing. It's I was happy that I came home in one piece.
Yes.
And it took almost 2 years to do that. Wow. And with the Navy, I had 3 years of sea duty because I'd never been on a ship. It was because I was in the Far East 3 times for 3 years. Thank you, Zoe. It's you should have seen me when I was they interviewed me for Washington. It was really tough because they started off from when I was a kid, where I was born, where this, that, over, and it was tough. It was tough. And then about 6 months later, they sent me the whatever, everything. They sent me the whole gizmo and told me that it's in the, well, I forgot what it's called, but it's marked in the Washington.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Want to share about coming home?
Not easy.
Get a T-shirt.
No one really seemed to care. I'm talking not just talking my family. Well, my brother, he was this, officer, hero. We were both into Vietnam at the same time. No one ever knew what I did, had not a clue, because I couldn't tell them, quite frankly. So basically, I just showed this picture to Zoe. This was my celebration to myself the day after I got home.
So what kind of beer is that?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I lived on the West Coast. It was Olympia beer.
Oh, Olympia. That's awesome.
For the listeners, it's a picture of Steve in a floaty in the middle of a pool drinking Olympia,
Yeah.
shirtless,
Yeah.
tan,
And longer hair, actually.
longer hair, looking like a strapping young man.
It's inside your cover.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that was my celebration. But anger, bitter, frustrated. I'd already kind of done this route before because I'd been in the Philippines. I'd come home from the Philippines, and I kind of, I knew the drill. We didn't have a whole lot of money, so I actually got off the bus at Travis. Got off the plane at Travis and took a bus home, a Greyhound bus, which took 20 hours or whatever. And then I got home and
Wow.
just not much. In fact, my sisters were more concerned about what was going on in terms of equal rights and stuff that was at that point in time. My biggest disappointment, in all seriousness, I didn't know the Beach Boys' hair was long. I said, what's going on here? I didn't have a clue how the United States was because I've been gone for quite a while, not just Vietnam. And so there was nothing. I had no feelings. I had no nothing. I didn't share anything for a long, long, long time, and still don't share to this day. But there was nothing for me.
Can you guys help me out? Somebody that's listening that doesn't understand, because obviously you guys should have had a very nice welcome home for your service and for what you did. What was the perception of America of what you guys were doing? If somebody doesn't understand, why did they call you names? Why did they not welcome you back with open arms?
They did everything wrong. Just the way they spoke to us about it, as if we did something really bad. Yes, we did kill. We did that. But it was just to finish this war. And I left there in '69, and it was 5 more years. They were they're still at it.
Bunch of very young men and women.
Extremely young. I just looked at the books, and the youngest was 15 years old.
I can't even imagine.
And now his parents never was able to receive the $10,000 when he get killed. Because
they could not receive it?
Because he was
underage.
Well, what the hell was he doing there then if they can't do that? He's good enough to die for our country, but not good enough for that.
Just took a lot of guts.
Wow.
To sign the paperwork and be sworn in. They looked at him. He even had a beard, and he was a young African American, and he did. He got killed in combat at 15 years old.
Combat at 15.
15. Yep.
That's crazy. Another thing that we had written down here, and Zoe was so nice to help us prompt us some other questions here, and I find a lot of these very interesting. And Zoe, thank you. Zoe Magnetta, by the way, our trustee and obviously friend of the show, and we have a great interview. If you haven't heard Zoe's, check it out. And thank you for your service as well, honey.
Most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomenlc.com or give them a call, 847 984-0103. Now back to the show.
So something unexpected about life after service. Because I'm sure that transition had to be very difficult, right?
Right, because when I went back to college, there's an introduction in a big, auditorium at the school. And sitting next to me, there was a young lady, a very pretty young lady. And she said, "Where are you going? How old are you?" I said, "I'm 22." She was 17.
Right.
And she said, "Well, where were you?" I says, "I was working. I had to get money to buy a car and stuff like that," which was a big lie, but it was what I said. And I asked her out for a date, but she said no. And 2 days later, I see her on TV. She's doing a commercial. Must be a beautiful young lady. She was doing a commercial. She wasn't in any of my classes, that's for sure. But it was just different. It was really different. But I never said a word about Nam, the war. I never did. And it was how you hold it inside of you. I was in PTD classes, and because of the sickness this country got, they closed off that PTD class. It was all guys in the room, and it was an hour, and then it became 2 hours. It just kept going until we could get it out of us. And she did, but we didn't give them everything. I could tell you that. I could hear what they're saying, like what he says. You could hear it, but you don't want to say it.
How about you for transition-wise, coming home?
Well, like in terms of something unexpected,
yeah,
I guess there'd be a couple things that I would think about. First of all, the number one thing in terms of the unexpected in my mind. When I left Vietnam, I was in the States for a year. I had a chance to pick wherever I wanted to live in the States, and I thought, I'll just put North Bend Air Force Station just for chagrin, so I'll never get it. I didn't want it. I really wanted to go on a beach, but I ended up at North Bend Air Force Station. So never forget it. There was one night, and we were way up on a hill. And there was one night where they said the weathermen are going to attack us. I don't know if you know who the weathermen are, but there's an old story about the weathermen. They were revolutionaries, and they were going after all these places in the States that had any form of radar stations or anything like that to kind of knock out all. Some of it was true, some of it was hyperbole, to say the least. But that's one thing. And then I did go back and I served in Guam. So I was in Guam, and I will never forget this day, December 19th, 1972. The reason I remember that is because we were supposed to play for the base basketball championship that day, so you know where my priorities were. And I looked out, and I thought, what the? And there was tents all over the place. And I looked over at the runway. We didn't even know it, and I had a top-secret crypto access. We didn't even know it. The B-52s started taking off, one right after another.
Bombers.
It was the beginning of the bombing of North Vietnam. And I actually saw them come back, too. And surface-to-air missiles fired at 31,000 feet. So they could nail them when they were up in the air. And a lot of them didn't make it back, to be honest with you. What I do remember is when I was playing the basketball game the day before it happened, I met this guy from Castle Air Force Base in Merced. He was a pilot. And I said, what are you doing here? He says, well, we'll find out. And so that's how I knew that. But when they came back, planes were ripped up and torn up and everything.
Wow.
So I will never forget that. But the most unexpected thing, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I actually found the love of my life, who had been married. We've been both of them married a long, long time. But as Zoe knows her well, she's my rock. I've gone through a lot of stuff over the last several years. and she's been there for me 24/7. So that's the most unexpected thing that happened, because I rated myself as a loser. I was just going to be a party animal, and who cared? Life does change.
That is awesome.
Yes, it does.
I love that, and the hope that's there, right, and the good things that happen. Okay, we're gonna shift gears a little bit and talk about some advice for younger generations. Basically, what should younger generations understand about sacrifice and service?
The generations of us,
Younger generations than you guys. So like
Zoe.
Yeah.
There's
or even younger than
younger. My children, like anybody walking around here today that sacrifice and service.
The only military person that I know of that came back, not came back, but joined, was my cousin's husband. He was a dentist. So when he joined, he became a lieutenant right off the bat. He spent 2 years there. Why? Because he just finished medical school, and he's going to get 2 years of training, free. And he did a great job. And I love people that do things correctly, not like those people that talk to us the way they did. And you don't forget it. Now you don't forget it anymore because it's over with.
Right.
I joined the Grayslake Post about 3 years ago now. And prior to that, I was district commander of VFW 4th District in Illinois, but I lived in Grayslake. One of the reasons that I joined the Grayslake Post was Commander Mike Magnetta and Zoe Magnetta. They knew me. They knew what some of the things I'd gone through. But every March 29th day, they make sure there's a Facebook page up there about thanking Vietnam veterans. Mike calls us the Golden Eagles. We have a group of us to get together for a breakfast. But the respect and the honor that I get from him just blows me away, because I just don't know why. And yet, I'm kind of like an advisor and a mentor to him because of my background in VFW. But that is something that is truly important to pass on down. I've done a lot of speeches and stuff to youth people. In fact, usually when I'm talking to them, I'll say, I've been in your spot over here sitting in the audience not paying any attention, or I know you guys are looking at the girls there. I get that. But, I'm going to tell you about some real stuff. So I've been that person that wasn't actually had a few issues, and yet I've kind of grown up through those things. And I think it's important. What's missing, and this scares me, World War II. First of all, I don't think Vietnam veterans are the greatest that ever was. I think any veteran who served was the greatest there ever was. December 7th, 1941. We don't even hardly hear about it anymore. And the same Korea, it's like an afterthought. Mm-hmm. So all these people who have sacrificed their lives for that. And then with Vietnam, we can be bitter and stuff, but I will tell you, the traveling wall travels around this area, and this was like, there was one of those pictures, Zoe, that I showed you. There was this lady standing next to me, and she said, "Were you over there?" I said, "Yeah." And she looked at me and she cried. She says, "I was a protester."
Wow,
I've heard that too.
And we hugged. That was the first. So that was truly closure for that. That kind of made me think, okay, maybe there's hope here after all. So with our youth, it's not about having a gun and shooting and all that. That's not what it's all about. It's about your country and how you protect your country and how the sacrifices and stuff were made. If we had to go back to Vietnam, we'd do it in a heartbeat, right?
And no problem.
We'd do it in a heartbeat, regardless of what people said. We're also known as kind of like, pardon the expression, badasses, I guess would be the appropriate term. Is that right, Zoe?
I think you hit the nail on the head.
We're not scared.
So nothing really frightens us at all. So that's one of the messages that I want to get across to youth. But I want the patriotism, the understanding of the values. It just scares the crap out of me what's going on today from a political standpoint in this world. We're missing the whole point here. We're missing what our country is all about. And if we can't get back on that track, I don't know how we expect people to feel proud to serve our country.
And
Wow.
they do.
Yes, I'm going to scoot the microphone over here with Zoe here.
I just also wanted to put out my
Closer.
advice to the younger generation because, yeah, we have these badasses here, right? These are heroes that risk their lives, that didn't possibly even want to join the service. And without their service, even the younger veterans, not even our youngest veterans right now, but a younger veteran like myself, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to serve if it wasn't for these two men. And now that I'm out of the service and I'm a veteran, now I have the ability to share their stories and share my own stories with even our younger generation of up-and-coming Americans. And I just think that continuing that message still provides hope for our country. Because if we don't share their stories, then they will die with them. And we won't know.
The history books will be changed.
And the history books will be changed, and they'll be rewritten, creating new history. And if we don't honor that legacy that you guys made, and then ultimately the legacy that maybe even I made, which I could never compare my service to these two gentlemen right here.
Oh, I disagree, but that's okay.
We think you did excellent.
Thank you,
And
Vince.
you're still doing it.
And I think that, the term warheads on foreheads, when I was on deployment in the Middle East in 2005 and 2006 when we're hunting for Osama bin Laden, our younger generations, they don't know about those things unless we continue to share that story with them and let them know the true meaning of these holidays, like Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
Add something to that. I think you just nailed it. What they see is videos, Delta 6, and all these videos that they can play, like the war game stuff. But that's missing the whole point of what it's all about.
Correct.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so concerned about how this message is going to continue to relate to our youth. And so it's the people who still are around today and their children, et cetera, who need to continue to keep that message out there. It is critical that they understand what people have sacrificed and gone through for them.
I agree, Steve. Thank you.
Very well put. Okay, so as we get close into wrapping up here today, I want to know, for advice on how do you celebrate? How do we celebrate Memorial Day? Am I even saying it wrong? Do we celebrate Memorial Day, or do we honor Memorial Day? Like how should people?
I think we do
that day.
I think we honor Memorial Day.
We know what it is, and we understand what's on the wall or in all of Washington.
Right.
They're there.
Right. And we need to know. The public needs to know.
If one thing they would watch on TV would help them get it, would be the Memorial Day service done at Washington, D.C. by Gary Sinise, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name from Criminal Minds. And they always tell stories, and they always have people related or someone about the stories. Mm-hmm. That's a great, great way of getting the message out there. But the other way is I want everybody to have their barbecues and enjoy that. That's important. It's family. But while you do that, there's got to be one person one who has answered that final call. Maybe they didn't necessarily die on Memorial Day, but they have died after the fact, and that's just as important. And it's important to know that you remember them. A quick moment of thanks or for what they did. That's all you need to do, in my mind, to at least help us continue to keep the message out there. We got to get away from celebrating Memorial Day as a celebration and getting back to what the reality of Memorial Day is, which you can still celebrate with a barbecue, but you do it with a purpose.
Right.
Even with the family. Even with the family.
Yes. Well, and without the sacrifice, we wouldn't be able to sit free in our backyards and enjoy that barbecue.
One of the things I have in my front yard, I have, of course, my American flagpole, which everybody knows is there. As Zoe says, my large flag. But I also put up a little thing where I have always remembered. It's a statue, and on the right side, of course, it's the American flag, and on the left side is a Vietnam veteran, and I put a spotlight on it. So people say, well, what's all that about? So I get comments and people ask, or on during Memorial Day week, I have my banners up. All gave some gave all, and I put my veteran flag up, which is torn. And somebody said, well, why don't you replace that new flag? I said, that's not the purpose of that flag. So I try to get subliminal messages that way as well.
Wonderful. Let's end like this. And sorry, I want to make sure that we bring to Grayslake, because we have one of the best Memorial Day celebrations in our town. So I want you guys to talk about it. I'm gonna move this in front of Zoe, because I'm not going to pretend to know all this about. So and the people that make it happen, and what our community can do to come out and honor on Memorial Day.
Yeah, that's great, Dave. So just like Steve had mentioned, it's perfectly okay to celebrate with barbecues and being together and kind of executing the start of summer and all of the wonderful events that we have in our community and across the entire nation, but also that moment of reflection. So we have our Grayslake Memorial Day Parade, which is an amazing opportunity for organizations to come all from around the county and participate in a celebration, a parade, and be able to, interact with one another and kick off the summer or the spring or our second spring in the Midwest, whatever it is that we're calling it, our nice weather right now. But after that parade, we have a small, intimate ceremony that many organizations and individuals come from, not just Grayslake, but from all areas of the county, because they know that our ceremony really is the creme de la creme of honoring our fallen. And we have 19 men on our memorial monument in Memorial Park that we honor and we recognize every year after the parade. And that's our way about continuing their legacy and their story and their impact that they left on Grayslake before they didn't have the opportunity to return home. And by sharing those names and their stories is the whole premise behind Memorial Day. And if you know someone that also gave their life, that's your opportunity to honor and recognize them. Just that little moment in a whole day of beautiful weather, hopefully, that we can just spend a moment of reflection to honor them. So after our parade in Memorial Park, I know that our VFW and our American Legion Post would love for the community to come to our ceremony and just spend a little bit of time honoring and reflecting those names and those men.
And then the mothers of a couple of them, the young men who became sent to God for the country. And I switch my flags every 2-3 months. I just took down the Vietnam one, and I put it up tomorrow night before I leave. The POW flag. That means a lot to me. It's a flag that is as much as our country flag, and as also the Navy flag and this flag, but that flag means a lot to me, and I'm sure it does Steve over here, because those guys, prisoners of war, they weren't there. They were in a jail for 5, 6 years, 8 years. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair.
One thing I would ask during the parade, please stand up when the American flag is coming by to show how much you care for our country and the reverence. And you're also doing it because people who have sacrificed their life so you can stand up and watch this parade.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an important message we need to continue to get out there. It's for that very reason we don't throw out candy. What we do is we continue to get the message out there. July 4th you can throw out candy, but not on Memorial Day. It's a different meaning. It's a special thing. Like Vince said, one of the things I do in my front yard is I set it up like I'm coming into a national cemetery. So that of course I have my big flag, and then as you're coming in, I put a kind of a walkway into where I have the setup for the always remembered, never forgotten. So when people go by, that's my subliminal message that they can understand it. And I keep that up like Vince. We do it all week, starting, for the whole week of the time frame.
It's our country.
Amen.
We will never forget that. Never.
Gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you for your service, and I really appreciate being vulnerable today and sharing your stories with our town, and maybe bringing a little bit more awareness, which obviously we'll all continue to do. And if there's anything I can ever do for you guys, all of you, to help bring that awareness and get people on it, it would be an honor to do that. So I appreciate both of you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your service, and welcome home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grayslake, do me a favor, wherever you guys are listening, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever you're listening. That way, every week you will get an alert of somebody new from our town, that we get to meet these gentlemen that you guys wouldn't get to hear from. So I love having the opportunity to share that. And as we always end, we never know what our friends or family, anybody's going through. So today, do a couple different random acts of kindness, whether it's holding the door for somebody, giving a smile, thanking a veteran, sending a text to someone that served our country, showing respect. So I challenge everybody to do that. So thank you guys. Zoe, thank you so much. And Grayslake, we will see you next week, everybody.
Thank you.